undetermined, we're still cutting this song short. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Welcome to the Purple Rock Podcast. I am your host, Andy. With me to start season 42 is your favorite co-host, Emma. Emma, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I cannot believe you didn't mention that it was the week of International Women's Day, your favorite time to book me.
I celebrate women like at least like 3 to 4 days a year, not just the one. So, you know, for me, it's just I didn't choose you because of that. I chose you because John is away and you decided this week was easier for you than next week.
It is, but you know, a nice benefit of timing. Plus, since you're Canadian, I've got to be pretty high up on your list of favorite international women. Absolutely. In terms of like people you actually know and not celebrities.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically you and like British Survivor fans. I don't know. So internationally, you're right up there. And I mean, you know, we've hung out recently, so
it's true.
Watch this is what people tuned in to hear.
Big old plate of cheese fries.
Yeah. We got a new season of Survivor. Are you excited?
Yeah, nice to have back. Shorter off season this time, so I didn't watch as many older seasons with the husband, but we did get through Blood versus Water and Philippines in reverse order because of social reasons, but it was bizarre remembering that Blood versus Water was the first Purple Rock podcast season.
Yeah, we've been doing this for probably too long.
Long, definitely.
If we do this for, I don't know, what is it, another 9 years or so, maybe we'll get mentioned on the show. Like, I think that's what the Survivor Wiki had to do. So we haven't put enough time in, and but we're getting there.
Rob has had too many fans on the show. When do we get ours?
Yeah, people step up already, huh? Well, yeah. Like we're doing everything we can by, you know, barely reaching out to have fans, not applying at all. But you guys listening to the show, you need to get on and you need to mention us, or like just like subtle shout outs will work, you know,
like a wink.
How about them fake idols though? It could be two things, something like that.
The people's champion, Emma, and people are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, they probably won't be able to get away with a blackjack and hookers reference and make
tragic. But if they did, everyone would just be like, they must be a Futurama fan, but we'd know.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, even if it was a Futurama thing, we'd claim credit.
Yeah, and we'd support that person because, you know, we like Futurama.
I find I'm not excited for this new season, and there's nothing to do with the season itself. This was a bit longer of an off season than we usually get between the two because of the Olympics, and I was fine with that. But yeah, my wife kept asking me like, hey, new Survivor this week, you excited? I'm like, no. And it's not because like I'm down on the franchise or anything. I thought last season was a perfectly cromulent season. I just find that I enjoy when it's away, and then I enjoy it when it comes back, and now it's back. And how did you feel about the actual episode?
You know, it was interesting. Obviously, we'll get into some of the differences that were dealt with in terms of like structure and whatnot. But I thought it was kind of fun. It was like the characters just seemed very like normal is definitely not the right word, but but like, you know, I was explaining to my husband about like, you know, because we skipped the Dark Ages, right? But I'm like, there was this era where, you know, just all the Mactor era, right? And I was like, I really feel like even in some of the great seasons, they had a mix of that, you know. And now I think I was saying with the vote out, you know, that I felt that I always feel sad for like super fans who go home early, and then I was like, but they're kind of all super fans, which is weird. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's weird because for a long time that was like you got one archetype, and then millennials versus Gen X, it was like there's 3 super fans, and now it's like, which of them don't watch the show,
Yeah.
The pretty blonde girl was on fucking Sequester. Like,
Yeah. So, I'm not trying to make this a trend. It was a fine episode. I have no complaints about the episode. Nothing bothered me, but nothing really excited me about it either. I thought it was just, a decent introduction. I think, there's promise for it goes. And yeah, a lot of super fans, and I gotta say, I'm not sure which way I feel about that. Like at first it was great, like, oh man, look how enthusiastic, like just like Jeff, like Marianne's smile is beaming off the screen even when she wasn't on it. Like you're just there, like it's like, oh, that's infectious energy. And then when it's like everybody, I'm like, I don't know, calm down, everyone. Like the enthusiasm levels after a while, like I don't know how I feel about super fans, which is a stupid way to feel for somebody who hosts a damn podcast about Survivor. But sometimes it's just like, chill a bit. You're on the show. You're in the show. You're on the show now. So now your job is to entertain me, not talk about like living out your Survivor dreams. I don't know. I promise everyone that this is not going to be a crotchety podcast. I guess I can't make that promise actually, but
I promise I won't be crotchety.
yes, yeah, you'll keep it in check. But yeah, like, did you enjoy their level of like fandom or anything like that, or like, is it a problem for me that I'm getting maybe just a little annoyed at like the 15th person being like, oh my god, this is the best thing. Like I appreciate, and I should say with the caveat that once again, these are people who were like trapped inside coming off of COVID, right? These people are only there like 3 weeks after the other people. It just feels much longer to us because COVID's over, apparently, as every government seems to be deciding.
My
So that, I think
pharmacist
that
today wasn't wearing a mask,
that they're
y'all.
like able to do something. But I don't know. Maybe it's just the brand of super fan that often gets there. Is that like they care more about like minutia than I care about? I don't know. What do you think?
Before you added that last bit, I was like, was there a question in there? But yeah, I think in terms of the enthusiasm, so, underreported in the Purple Rock fandom, if we can call it that, we can't, community, is that you and I are basically the same person, which surprises people, but it's true down to the ailments. It's crazy. But one of those ways, I think, is that we both struggle with people who are what others would call a lot. And it is not that these people are bad people. They are often great. It's just the energy is not one I can match. I also struggle with sincere displays of emotion. I went to a friend's bridal shower recently. This is a dear friend of mine. We have been friends since we were 16. Haven't seen her since fall of 2019 because of the pandemic. This bridal shower was not a surprise. It's very important that I say that. She burst into tears when she walked in, and I was like, no, I didn't cry at my wedding. Like, my husband did though, haha. But I did not. That is, I think I was bullied enough as a small child for being a crybaby that I learned to shut that out, keep that inside. And as a result, a lot of people, like the internet loves Marianne, and I bet Marianne is a sweetheart, despite the fact that I am innately distrustful of anyone who works for a church in an official capacity. But she seems very kind and nice and cheerful, but I think I would probably find her irritating in real life. And that's a me thing. Like, if you love Marianne, that is totally cool. That is fine. It's just not like my personal vibe. And I feel like it's probably not your vibe either. Or like in the moment when she cries, and we'll get more into Jackson's exit, obviously, because that should be about Jackson. Also, how do you like this? Me talking so much that Andy can't get a word in. Revenge! International Women's Day, baby! Anyway, that when she like burst into tears, if I was there in person, I would just be like, what the fuck? Because again, sincere displays of emotion make me uncomfortable, but that's my issue, not hers. So
Yeah, and for me, I think it's fine when it's a couple people that are maybe nerding or geeking out, but it feels like the trend lately is like everybody is. And it's like, I'm not here to watch your fantasy baseball camp. I'm here to watch people like compete in Survivor. And so again, it's not like it bothers me. I just don't love it the way other people have been loving it, you know? And I think it's the same with Marianne. Is somebody like at first I was just like, oh my God, look at how excited she is. And then after a while, I was like, I think she's a bit much. And I think
now, oh, sorry.
I also am like conscious about avoiding the trope that like television shows often go for, and this television show especially often goes for, is like the immigrant is adorable type thing. Because it's like, if she was like, someone else, we might not think that, but again, she might also just be a pure of heart person. So it's like I struggle. It's like I like the energy, and she's definitely the person that stood out the most, and we'll get more into that later. But
I also honestly
so much
forgot
energy
that
from everybody, and I hope it settles down just a bit. But it's also kind of fun at times that we're gonna get to pretty soon.
yeah, I also honestly forgot that her parents are from Kenya, because I was like, Canada? When you were saying the immigrants, like, oh yes, the way we stared at those adorable Canadians. But I totally agree. I mean, that's something we saw a lot with Ty, although Ty is, I think, possibly the most purest human being who's ever been on Survivor. And then we saw that with someone who I've forgotten.
Like Yowman has gotten that.
No, recent.
Yeah.
Was there someone on season? Oh God, never. I've got to
Oh
skip
yeah,
ahead
just
on
last
this.
season I think there's somebody in.
Yeah, who?
I can't remember them either.
fuck?
Pre-merge boot, I believe.
Nasir.
Oh no, Nasir. Yes, not pre-merge.
Nasir. Yeah, and Nasir's great. Love Nasir. But yeah, it's the word choices people use. Now, Marianne's young, so when you're young and calling someone adorable, it's like, yeah, she's the baby. Man, remember when you guys were talking to me and I was 23? Wild. Now I'm an old. Now I would be an old on the Blue Tribe.
You maybe are as old as we were when we first started doing all this.
Maybe I'm older than Matt was, for sure. But let's not get bogged down in those depressing details. I think another thing to keep in mind with the enthusiasm is that they're not starving yet. So, you know, that energy will deplete. They also have the adrenaline of the first day, you know, so we'll see if that simmers in, you know, as the game becomes more real and stuff. So I think
almost certainly it will. And I'm like, again, I'm not really worried about it. It's just, it was a little repetitive is maybe all it is. It's like everybody is like, or almost everybody. Certainly there was a couple of cranks. But you know, it's like to the point where I'm wondering.
That darn Roxroy's so enthusiastic.
Yes. To the point where I'm wondering, like, this is maybe what happens when you're casting in the middle of like COVID and all that, is like the people that you can get, especially for like the second season, because I wonder if this is the B team or if they tried to like balance or not, is like these excitable dorks who come like, well, I'll do anything, and you know, I don't care that I've not gone anywhere and I need to quarantine and all of that. So, and like, again, I think I will like some of them for sure. It's just yeah, I don't know, it was all a bit much, and now I feel like I'm cranky. But let's talk to the first challenge, because the first challenge actually, I think, played well into the fact that these guys are a little over anxious, which some of it is probably just natural to any newbie cast, but I feel like especially now that it's like the super fan era of Survivor. I mean, obviously, I don't think we care much about the actual challenge itself, other than people fell down a lot, just running. But it's when we get to the new twist, and you have to wait there, and then you all have to decide whether you're going to go for this thing, the joint risk part of it, before we even get into what they end up getting. What do you think of that?
You know, whose joint was at risk was Daniel's. Hey, I apologize. I hate myself. I will be leaving. Goodbye.
What did you think about that? Did you think that was an interesting twist on, you know, advantage delivery?
I did. I thought that it would suck to have run so fast, like, and Lindsay looked like she was zipping down that sand, which sand is, I mean, I hate running as it is, but sand is not easy to run on it. She's like, woo. And then to be like, wait here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck you.
Well, even more than that, the people who like did the first leg, all of their effort was wasted, including, of course, somebody getting injured as a result of it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he was lost anyway. But yeah, like, so I think they could tweak something about that a little bit, because I also think part of the problem was to not go for the, I mean, they want people to go for the risk, right? But to not go for it the way it was structured would be insane, because it's like either you all do it or someone just fucks off without you, and then you would all have to do that. Like, two people can't go for that twist. It would be way too big of a risk. Like, the target, you know, one person really can't. So if one person decides not to do it, you're all not doing it. There's no way. And so I feel like it's pretty easy to convince, like, I believe it was Lindsay who was like, but starting was deception. And I was like, fuck off, man. Especially because it's like barely, it's not like, are we choosing rice for the tribe or an idol? It's, are we all taking a long time together, or are we all leaving right now? Like, what are we doing here? The mud was funny, but the blood.
Yeah. And this is where we're getting in, like, where the enthusiasm pays off, because clearly those people were just so amped up that it overwhelmed a lot of the decision making, you know.
Why did they even offer the blood?
We'll get back into like whether you think we should take the risk, because we got to talk about the blood right now.
So stupid. I love it so much.
Yes, I love it because it is dumb, and dumb in the best way. And then this is where the super fandom, like, we're on Survivor, we're here to play. I'm gonna cake myself in blood with no wounds to explain said blood.
No. I didn't cry at my wedding, crying at this blood. I'm not literally crying.
I mean, is there even mud? They're on a beach, you know, like, it hasn't rained.
I mean, I think that could at least, I mean, I don't know that they really thought of a lie, but like, I thought in theory, maybe it's because I've watched challenges recently, like I've been watching older seasons recently, but it could be, you know, oh, there's one of the things where you have to crawl under like the step or whatever and do that. Or like, you know, we had to wrestle for keys or whatever.
Sure, but like those might be on different terrain, but that's beside the point.
I was like, why couldn't they just be like, it was really far away?
Yeah, and I think you need to like explain that it was far away, but you didn't actually need to do the mud to explain. That's actually taking more time. Just be like, it was far, and
just like be really out of breath and be like,
so many knots you don't even know, you know.
Right. Yeah. Even if you don't want to worry about being out of breath, say like there were 100 knots. It was stupid. And they'd be like, wow, that blows. And I'd be like, yeah, it sucked. My fingers hurt. And then they'd be like, okay, let's keep going. But instead, let me douse myself in a bucket of blood.
Yeah. And it paid off so well because Lydia, I believe it is like,
yes.
Oh, did you cut yourself? And it's like, yes, because that's like, as he's running back, my whole thing is like, how are you explaining the blood?
So much blood. It was like, I was just cracking up. It was like, oh my God, you're bleeding a lot.
Like,
and
we should stop this challenge. I don't think this guy is all right. Because usually, when there's some blood on Survivor, it's a scrape. You know,
right?
That's not like, it's not usually oozing and like pouring.
Coated his whole body.
And then like everyone else, it's probably not a unique problem. When medical comes, I want him to be like, and hi, we gotta get you stitched up.
Oh my God. Like I was disappointed that after pointing out all the blood, Lydia did not say, now that you're clean.
That's the only problem with it, because everything about it else was just perfect. I mean, the episode.
Head wounds.
Maybe
he can pretend it was like in his hairline, and so they can't see.
Yeah, like that's what a wrestler would do. That's when you bleed up here, and it's very cinematic, and it heals quickly. But now he's like,
my entire chest, my whole chest.
No, I want to know where everybody's like, where's your wounds, dude? Are you Wolverine? Like, he just healed like this.
I also loved him being like, oh man, but I have such a careful skincare routine. And one of the girls being like, but it's mud. And he's like, oh yeah, because like mud is often used in facials, but also like, hi, babe, in 2 days. Like, you're not like, are you gonna just like press your own coconut oil here? Are we gonna like, revert to to physical exfoliants and use the sand desperate times? But like,
Probably.
yeah, like,
But you're also going to be
normally,
covered in bug bites.
right. And then, the blood is like a vampire facial. Those are apparently a thing for the wealthy. So, except it's fake blood, so it's probably like sugar.
Yeah, cornstarch.
Like cornstarch, like not gonna be great for the skin, but also like that ship it hasn't sailed, but it's like about to. It's leaving the harbor, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, so like I completely question his decision making, and that is Survivor doing the right thing. It's just like, we know this is such a heightened situation that people are going to make dumb decisions, because thank you for doing it. It was a wonderful moment that honestly will live on in the annals of history. Like at the time, like somebody just like coated themselves in like carry pig blood, and then just be like, "Are you cut? Yeah. Are you bleeding?" And he's just like, "Yeah." Like, that's a lot. It's not a skin knee here. And I don't think the other two people reached for blood. I think they were all caking themselves up, and then like he like dipped in, like, I guess this too. The clue said I should do it.
Tony's spitting and like covering Sarah with ash is shaking because it's so much better.
I don't know if I would have done the thing, like the peer pressure is tough and in the moment and all of that, but here's why I think I'd be like, no, I think I'll just compete, because I don't know these people. I mean, you don't know anybody, obviously. This is like when you first land, but and yeah, I guess I've had a day maybe to think about this. That's unfair. They don't know that Survivor now fucks you with advantages, but what you should know, and now having the advantage of 41, definitely know advantages that other people know about really ain't it. It's not hitting. So like, even if like you get something good and they have no idea that they're not going to get something good, how useful is it that 2 other people know what you have? How good could it be? So I think for me, I just, would I want it if it was just the first person there, you could do this, or get an advantage and come in last? I would have come in last, absolutely. Who cares? But the shared impact of everybody knowing, I think, is not a great thing. And I think going forward, more people should think to themselves, an advantage that I have to share with other people, even as the knowledge of acquisition, is probably not one having. But again, I have the benefit of 41 to help me with that opinion.
And also, though, I mean, and granted, at this time they don't know, like, this will happen a lot with like Ship Wheel Island or whatever, is having, especially in a tribe of or groups, not tribe of three tribe format, having cross tribal alliance or connections can be helpful. If there's like a swap, we certainly saw this. I cannot believe I'm citing this season, but we certainly saw that help Chrissy and Ryan's relationship. Not enough, but like pretty good. And definitely in the swap situation, where I think Rourke said after the fact, she's like, oh, at the time I was like, there's no such thing as being swap screwed. Then I found out about them, like Ryan having given Chrissy an idol, and I was like, oh, okay, I was swap screwed. Like there's nothing you could do with that. So I think there's potential that could end up coming in handy. Now, this is before knowing what the advantage actually is, which definitely complicates that, but in a vacuum where you don't have that information.
Yeah, and again, I don't know how much of my take is centered around coming off a season when advantages were just as likely to fuck you than they were to help you. And that is a challenge, actually, just have in this and in the Ship Wheel. I guess now the community has to call it that, because a more popular podcast came up with it.
Do you have a name you'd rather use?
No, it's fine. I think, Advantage Island is what we were saying, but now this is more specific. It's true.
I don't remember.
I don't know either. I don't who remembers.
The show should probably give us a name for it, but they haven't.
It's just, I don't even know where I was going with that now. Yeah. Oh, is that, I don't know what the show wants us, like the takeaways for any of this. Like, what's the narrative like being built here? Is it that you should throw caution to the wind and go for things, or should it be that you should be more cautious? Because it seems like they want it both ways. Of course they want, people to enthusiastically do these things. They don't come up with these big ideas hoping that nobody takes it. And I feel like if nobody took it this time, I don't know if it'll never, like, how would you do it again? Would you maybe insert it into another challenge? But it could have been just a lost opportunity. They also probably cast people knowing that they're going to be aggressive risk takers or whatever, and especially in day one, people are more likely to be that because they're all amped up and they don't know anybody yet. They're not going to do so they probably all came here, I'll backstab anybody, and then 4 days later they're the best friend in the whole world and you're in tears when they have to leave. That's actually 2 days later. So like, yeah, that's what they want, but then they keep setting up these situations where it was like, ha 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 ha, you were foolish to go after this. And not only that, you have this whammy that you cannot get rid of. And that's like the beware advantage, which will be in play again. And that's what this one is like. These things are non-transferable. And everybody who has it will, be marked with it by at least 2 other people, if not more. So I just don't know what the show is trying to say. It's possible that they don't know either. They're just like, let's throw things and twists and turns and see what happens. But it's just like, what's the lesson? I guess it's just hope for that you got one of the good ones. I don't know. Well, so what do we think about this one specifically, the Amulet Advantage, and the way that you have to play it with everyone or hope to be the last person standing, and pretty much hope to be the last person standing, because the other ones aren't that great. Like, it'd be awesome if everybody got an extra vote, then that would be crazy powerful. But instead, you have to collaborate with 2 other people who you are not on a tribe with now. Who knows if you'll be together to get 1 vote? That seems, I don't know that would ever come into play.
Yeah, like that's maybe if they're somehow together and there's like a split vote situation, or if they all make it to final 7 and they're the 3.
That's the thing. It's not just that they all have to come together in some way, but then all their interests have to align in a voting standpoint, not just in a, hey, maybe we could work together at some point because we ran together in a challenge. Not like, because like their connection is not even as like solid as somebody who like goes to Shipwheel Island.
Because they spend a lot of time.
They have to be in a situation where their votes and intentions are opposed to at least the same amount of people in order for that vote to matter. So like, that thing is never going to be. The only thing that matters is be the Highlander standing so that you can win the idol.
The idol. And that is kind of interesting because they all know that they all have that. So there's this weird where I'm sure they'll be like, oh, we should all work together, but they definitely won't. Like, obviously what you hope is that the other 2 just get voted off pre-merge and then you don't have to deal with it. Also, I wanted to say how at first glance, Amulet Advantage sounds very dumb to me, but that also makes me think, like, did I think Hidden Immunity Idol sounded dumb, initially? The truth is probably not, because I was probably like 14 when 15.
Well, they'd already had immunity, like the necklace.
Yeah, that's true. There's the immunity idol, then it was the hidden immunity idol. Yeah. But that just the naming convention gives me a little like a medallion of power flashbacks, but I think it's a better game mechanic. Also, I mean, God, it's not worse than any of the like random things, that knowledge of power or stuff like that. Like, this feels like something they could actually stick with in a way that like the thing that blocks the immunity that I forgot the name of.
Nullifier? Idol
yes,
nullifier? Yeah.
The idol nullifier. Like, I think we haven't seen it in I guess only 1 season, but like,
no, it was a couple. It was like 3 times nullifier came out.
No, I know. I said we haven't seen it in 1 season. I was saying it felt like it's been a while, but I guess it's just because we had like 2 years. And also it was completely unuseful in season 40. And the fact that it was that unuseful, and it was unuseful for Parvati, I wonder if that made them realize, like, oh, maybe this is bad. Especially with how it happened in 39. Like, okay, it worked really well for you guys once.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you know, I'm sure it would have tweaks and we'll have to see how it plays out. But I think it's interesting. Was there anything about the Amulet Advantage, perhaps its physical form, that interested you?
Yeah. Well, first off, when they were just keys in general, I'll admit, I thought an amulet had to have like a gem or something, you know. I've since looked it up and it's like, it's anything that is, you know, given status. I was like, okay, fair play enough. Like, I thought it was like, do you guys not know what it is? But I guess it is me who did not know what it was. But yeah, they're keys and they're never going to have a lock for that. I don't care that the stupid logo has a lock. This is a show in which this very episode, somebody took a die and dropped it in a can. They didn't roll the dice.
And then picked up a piece of paper.
Yes. This is a show where somebody had a coin and then handed it into the host so they could look under one of 3 cups. The key will not function like a key because nothing functions the way it's supposed to in the new world of Survivor.
When there was an hourglass and you took it and you smashed it with a hammer.
Instead of turning it over. So like anybody who thinks that there's going to be a lock, and it's possible I'm talking to one person in the world. What if it's 3 people? Is it a lock with 3 locks? And then they take one away? They decide which of those keys? Frankly, do we expect a wooden key to be able to work with a lock? Or would it break when you turn it? No, it's just, you know, part of course, the imagery that they've put into the motif of a season without without symbols or themes. But it's like, man, it could have been like a gem or an emerald, but you made it a key, and it's gonna frustrate me to no end that it does not perform the function of a key, just as nothing performs the function of the items that are on it anymore in Survivor.
Talking about the key and them,
it's post art at this point, and I need to accept it.
Talking about the key and them unlocking it made me think of The Simpsons, which made me be like, oh my god, the Amulet Advantage is a tontine.
Yeah, that was the word actually I was struggling with when I
was this Boston Rob's
This is like, yeah, that's what this is. This is just a tontine. Finally, you know, maybe that show will have a chance, Boston Rob. But
I already said Boston Rob.
Yeah, it's because you don't want the extra vote. You hardly ever want the extra vote, but especially not in this situation. A vote steal, I suppose it's more likely that you and that other person might need that, so possibly. But no, it's really going to be now this this death match that these people who you thought you were collaborating with are now your enemies, and that part of it actually is interesting. I'm just not sure what the lesson here is, because as soon as you hear it, and High, to his credit, realizes it's like, well, man, I wish I didn't have this thing. Like, this is not going to be good for me. And I just wish Survivor would stop doing that. I wish they would stop, you know, like, ha ha ha, you thought you were being proactive, but wait, because it's like, eventually that's going to encourage the lack of proactivity. And another way you could do that is just stop giving out things. You know, if people stop getting things, then people will stop going after things. So, yeah, that's that. But as with all things, I will wait to see what happens, and if it provides entertainment, I will tip my hat. Getting back to the people that were on the show, the thing that happened a lot, and we had 2 hours, so there was time for this, was a lot of the character building montages where they like flashed back. I think we had like 5 of them in this episode. Was that a good thing? Was it good? I'll lead off. I thought it was a bit much. Like, again, it's kind of all this, and again, maybe again my thing in the personal space, but it's just like a few great and powerful. Like, I liked it when they did last season, but when there was like at least 5, there might have been more. I was like, okay, like, is this American Gladiator, or what's the show I watch where they run and jump on things and they always have a personal story? I am just primed for podcasting tonight. I can't remember anything.
American Ninja Warrior.
That's the one.
I did it.
Thank you. Yeah, and it felt like there was too many, and maybe it's because it's like, you other guys aren't going to compete with like some of them. Like some is like, oh my god, that is like a really compelling, interesting human moment, and other ones like, yeah, I get it. You were a person before you went on Survivor, and
yeah, I don't know that like everyone needed, because like you were saying, it's definitely like, Roxroy, I'm a stay-at-home dad. Daniel, I had cancer at 15.
It's like that one touches the heartstrings. Of course, chemo. Jackson is like, none of you guys are competing, and they, of course, were not trying to compete with. But it's like, transitioned at a light age, estranged from my parents as a result, was able to come together on my mom's deathbed. It's like, I get that. Maybe just let that one breathe.
And farewell.
Yeah, and I think the other part is like, I don't know these people yet. So really, like, I feel like it was too soon to be, pushing those buttons. Let me get to know some of them a bit first, and then I'll care a bit more about who they were. It felt like, because I skip preseason coverage because I don't care about who you are until you are actually a survivor. And this felt like, with how much of it they had, a lot of preseason content squeezed into like the premiere.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously they had to do Jackson,
yes,
because of what was happening, both it being a more compelling story and also him getting both in the game. And it's weird because on the one hand, it's like, I understand them using the like bigger stories at the beginning, but it also then starts to be like, then you start to think like, does everyone on this season just have like some tragic backstory? But it's also like, you have Mike, I believe, asking Daniel about his port scar, so like that's gonna come up.
And I thought that was naturally integrated well, and again,
right,
have Jackson talking about it, but other ones it's like,
and I think it's also like, I think it hits people. It is different seeing like a 30-year-old talking about having had cancer and seeing a 15-year-old going through chemo, like seeing those pictures. And I mean, Jackson, the picture stuff is different because obviously that was his choice to share that. Not everyone would want to, but it seems like Jackson was pretty in control of his narrative and what he wanted. So, but it's also like Mike, who I actually find kind of delightful.
Yep.
Like, okay, you could just be like, I was a fireman. Like, I don't really need to like, or you could even be like, I was the first Puerto Rican fire chief.
Yeah, I can remember.
Commander?
Or in
I apologize.
Yeah, something.
I forgot. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to my uncle who was a retired fire chief for fucking that up. But like that's something that can wait. Like we don't really need
and then like we have more time, and then we get to know Mike a bit more, and then we can know a bit more about, and then maybe there's a time later when it would naturally integrate, like Danny last season when it was like, the anniversary of and like,
and hopefully nothing as
as
bad
last
as
season they got to Erica's, I didn't care anymore because she was a ghost for the first part, but I just felt like it was a lot this episode, and I think it could be a structural issue in that they lost the tribal council and lost all of the strategies that would have led to that tribal council. So if it felt like filler, it's possible that it was filler. It's just, I don't know. Again, I like some of it a lot, and then after a while, it's like, let's get to the Survivor stuff. But that's me.
Yeah, and that's another thing I feel like the enthusiasm is gonna taper down, because also it's a lot more because it was a longer episode. So even if they keep having them, like I don't think any are gonna have more than like 2 at most from this point.
Well, especially since they knocked out so many, right?
Right, and then I did read some preseason stuff, so I know there's at least one story that I feel like they're definitely gonna mention, but a lot of the like major, backstory things, I feel like we're basically taking care of. Unless there's stuff I don't know, because I listened to some podcasts. I didn't like read every single article.
Yeah, whereas like I did even less than I usually do. Like my other process is sometimes I stumble on stuff, And maybe that's why, like, I wasn't feeling the enthusiasm. It's like, I don't know who any of you guys are yet. I would like it to be just a little bit more organic, but I think for other people, they really liked it because according to like the Twitter statisticians, this was a pretty even balanced edit in the terms of the only airtime that matters, and that would be confessionals. And that I guess everybody got, like, it looks like at least 2 from one count I saw going around Twitter. A good thing about that is maybe now we don't have to hear people bellyache about it for like 6 episodes until the imbalance shows up. What did you think? Do you think the balance of how we got like a little bit of everybody worked for you?
I think in theory, I do think, especially for the premiere, it's kind of nice to have an idea of who everyone is. However, I was surprised to see how balanced it was because, again, as someone who's, well, I guess this isn't the preseason coverage, but like has just sort of seen people talk on Twitter and stuff. I know people were very excited about Chanel, and I feel like we did not see her.
Yeah, I don't know anything about her. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, but her name and stuff was aware enough in my head that I was like, where is she? Like, people were like stoked on this chick. Like, where is she? I know she's not Drea. I know she's not Marianne. Like, where's this other person? And so to see that she had 2 confessionals, I was like, whoa. Which I know one was just like, oh, I guess I'm with Daniel because Jenny and Mike are a pair and I and Lydia are a pair. And I could not tell you what the second one was for the life of me. And I think that really shows, the point you kind of sarcastically alluded to, but you like to say that, sorry, my bangs are like driving me nuts, which is that, other stuff besides confessionals matter. Like we had great scenes with Hai that weren't confessionals, such as pouring an entire bowl of blood all over his chest. I will never stop talking about that. It was so stupid, and yet he's also one of my favorites so far. Is it because that was so stupid? Maybe, but not entirely. I think he could be interesting, but also he poured a whole bowl of blood on his chest.
And then just ran off like it was nothing. It's like,
so good.
I wish we found out what he said afterwards. Yeah, and again, this I'm going to completely allow this could be just me. Total problem with me. Let me know if you think that I need to get over myself in this regard specifically. The balance I don't think worked for me, and maybe it's because I'm like a filthy casual or something, but it's like everything was so surface level on practically everybody that I don't really feel any attachments to anybody. Like usually coming out of a premiere, there's like a couple of focused characters. They might not be the stars of the season. Last year it was like JD, right?
JD.
Yeah.
We missed you.
Again, maybe it was too much JD. I don't believe that for a moment, but the
not
argument
possible.
could be made, specifically by other people who weren't JD in the cast, maybe. But
incorrect. Don't care.
Yeah, but it's just like we got so like a little bit from everybody. I don't feel like we got enough from anybody other than like maybe the person who went home. But like that's not a problem long term. We have more time. But it might be is another reason why I'm struggling to like latch on to anything right now, because it's just like there's a bunch of people that seem pretty excited to be on Survivor.
I do agree that I didn't have like super strong favorites. There's some people who are like, I think I like you. You got potential, and I didn't have like strong feelings going into tribal of who I wanted to go home. The teaser kind of eliminated one of those options.
Yeah, I'll cop to not even like realizing that in the moment. I saw people tweeting about it, like, oh yeah. And that's again, I had no idea who she was when they showed it. So it was just like, person on the show.
No, I mean, when they showed it, I was just like, oh, I'm not sure is that it. And then, I mean, a benefit of the diversity initiative is that there aren't a lot of like young blonde women on the show, where there's usually a lot. So I was like, oh, that's her. Oh, so and like when she doesn't find it when she's off looking, I'm like, it should have at least been in the premiere.
Oh, yeah, no, like that was a
personally
should not have shown it. I'm just like copying to my own ignorance that like I forgot that moment even happened, by the time that
and I'm sure a lot of people did, but I also like, what the fuck were they thinking? Like it's unnecessary.
So weird. Just show us a highlight from last year.
Right, they showed so many highlights from last year anyway that like, why not just Just be like, the Beware Advantage is back. Boom, done. Show Nasir being like, I like struggling to remember that sentence, and we're good, we're in.
Yeah, no, that was a total mess up by them. I just
Like,
but I didn't realize it until people mentioned it. I was like, no, that was
for
done.
people who have been, I mean, I know it's not like all the same shows, so I'll say for a franchise that has been around for over 20 years, they should know better. But I guess speaking of Blood versus Water, which was our first season, they did reveal in like the teaser that they'd be going to Rocks, which again, for people who weren't around at the beginning, we named our show the Purple Rock. It was just you and John at the time. But yeah, the show was named Purple Rock Podcast. And this was going into 27, where Purple Rock had not been seen since season 4. And then they went to Rocks, and then it was white.
That's why we're never going to get mentioned on the show. That's the shout out we want, is
Disgusting.
to turn the damn rock purple. Is it too much to ask? Probably.
Makes me sick.
In more important news about this episode, I think maybe the biggest reason why I came out of it just being like, yeah, that was fine. Like, I'm ready for more, but I don't have enough takes. Obviously, the running time of this podcast would suggest otherwise, but it's an Emma and Andy joint.
And when you get an Andy and Emma podcast, you're gonna listen to a lot of talking.
Jackson's exit really kind of made it feel like yeah, like it deflated whatever energy was coming out of it, and especially because then you start like wondering and worrying. What was your reaction when that went down?
This is not particularly eloquent, but initially it's just like, that sucks. Yeah. Like,
I think that's the correct reaction, by the way.
Yeah. It sucks for us. It sucks for him. It sucks for the show. It sucks for his family that he, quarantined away for that long for ultimately like not much. It sucks slightly less than it did for Pat, I feel like. Because
he doesn't have to deal with, like a road to recovery or anything like that.
Right. Or in the fact that like Jackson, and who has said this himself, like said like, hey, that was my fault, I take responsibility, whereas Pat was on a boat that the show was piloting. They need to bring him back. That's so fucked up. But anyway, like, yeah, it's just shitty. It sucks. He seemed, really interesting, not just like because he's trans, but like the way he was like talking, telling his story and stuff. He seemed like someone who really is going to want to talk a lot. I did look at pre-game press. He seems like just a very nice person, which honestly in Survivor can be like a problem, but it also can be like an interesting problem, with other people working with him, or people, people like that when someone's just like super duper nice. There can also be like tension with backstabbing and stuff. And I mean, it just like, and it felt like, I remember when it's like his story about having come out, it's like, like, cool, we are like, I'm so glad this is on his terms, because we've seen it the other way, and like, that's great. And then so to like have kind of a reclaimed trans narrative where he hasn't been forcibly outed by a dick bag, and then it's just he's gone less than a half hour later. It's like, well, fuck.
Yeah, it seems like, I don't remember if it was, but it almost felt like the next segment, and it was just kind of like, what just happened there? And like reading the reactions after the fact is always interesting, just like the way people go with things. And we're all reacting, it's fine, but it's always interesting, like the people who immediately turn to anger, like who is to blame for this? And it's like, I think the correct reaction was yours, like, man, that sucks. Yeah, I'll say after my, oh man, that sucks, because again, I really like responded to it, like his was the story that really interests me. Not that it needs to be a competition, but he wins. Is that I did go like, don't they have an alternate? Like he shouldn't have been on once they learned this. And I'm like, maybe because of COVID they didn't. Now, as it turns out, they did have an alternate, but the alternate had gone home that day when he finally reveals it. And yeah, like I think the show did the right thing. You can't have people die on you or pass out on stuff like that. You need to be cautious with these sort of things, and it sounds like there was some risk there. Sounds like he was not doing well. Again, for the people watching, it's hard to parse that because you didn't see it. Like right before it happens, we get like a little quote of like, you need to drink water. But apparently overnight he had been struggling a bit. And yeah, it's just like, this is why you're supposed to have alternates. Like as soon as you learn that, you should have been like, oh, sorry, this is just the exact wrong situation for that sort of thing to happen, and we'll bring you back. Like we want you on the show. And yeah, it was just like, man, that kind of sucks. So if people were wondering, it's that he did reveal it like 2 days right before, and the reason why I don't think it was like being like tricky or it was subterfuge is he thought he would be done by then. He thought he would been completely off his lithium, but he had a couple left, and it just the whole thing hadn't passed yet. And part of all that is that it's not as much prep and turnaround time that people think, like from the time that you're okay, you're going on Survivor and then it's time to go. Some people are like, oh, I would have memorized everything that ever happened and like learn every skill. It's like you have like 2 weeks.
Learn how to swim in the open water.
Yeah. That's usually a 2-day course. So it just kind of sucked. It's unfortunate. Other person that went home this episode was Zach. Do you think that was the right choice for everyone who voted for him, which, to be clear, was everyone?
I don't. I mean, I guess it depends on the motives. If it's like challenge based, obviously he is very skinny. I'm dying to know how tall he and Romeo are, because I am of similar size to the two of them, I will say. But I haven't had that since Sierra Easton. I'm pretty sure she is my height. I also really hope Romeo makes it to the merge so we get his Ponderosa, because like, is he gonna lose any weight? Can he? I'm pretty sure Sierra iconically gained a pound. There are a lot of things I don't want to go Sierra now, but for that, she is a legend. But yeah, it was weird. The whole vote was just like weird. Like they seem to really have this like young people, and I'm gonna generously say less young people, split. I mean, even the old
about what the young kids like with the Harry Potters.
Which, yeah, like, isn't Romeo like a 31? Like even Drea is not too old for Harry Potter. Only Roxroy. Roxroy has kids. So he probably
we will bond with this deep nerd culture of the most popular book in the history of literature.
And this is also definitely more in the zeitgeist, and people are more comfortable talking about their love for Harry Potter than they ever have been. I mean, from what we've heard about Tori, that might be a plus. But I guess you can be anti-vax and not be transphobic, but it feels unlikely. Anyway, it just felt like they all turned on that like really quickly, except for Romeo, because like Drea's like, let's get out Roxford. Then what I thought was really interesting was Thwathi targeting Zach, because it seemed to be based on the challenges. And it's like, okay, if you want to do someone on a challenge, but you're working with Zach, perhaps the person who was considered even weaker than Zach and did not participate, the person who weighed what I did as a starving college student. Maybe.
Roxroy had made it clear that wasn't a thing,
Wasn't an option. Yeah, that's definitely possible. I also thought it was weird. I mean, and you pointed this out privately, but like that Zach and everyone else was like the puzzle, and I'm like, bitch, y'all were already losing.
Yeah, no. If he would have to be a puzzle god, like again, they did screw up the puzzle, but they were behind so much that I don't think it would have mattered.
Yeah, like that would have been a factor if either of the other tribes lost the puzzle. Then it's like, wow, you really screwed up the puzzle. That's a big deal. But this was like, we're all bad at this. Mm-hmm. And I know from like some pre-game coverage I did see, people looked at the makeup of these tribes and were like, I don't know about that blue tribe, man.
Yeah, I mean, so this is why I thought Zach was a fine choice. The very fact that you could have a Skinny Bros alliance is a bad thing in a 6-person tribe. It's like, it's bad to have one of you. We cannot have 2 of you. So
Andrew Savage would be losing his mind.
And one of you is gone this vote.
Yeah, actually, that's why I was like, it depends on their motive. Because like if it's purely challenge, then yeah, sure. Like maybe take out the guy you didn't even think was worth playing in that challenge. But like, yeah, sure. If you're not for Drea and Roxroy and obviously Romeo, yeah, go for it. If you're thinking about anything else, Tori just seems sketchy. And not because I've like seen a couple of out of game things. Like she just seems sketchy. And the whole like just the way I mean, I guess you're thinking like, well, she's gonna just like tell us all, like take us aside if we ever do anything weird, so we'll know what she's thinking. But I just don't know that that's someone I would want to play with.
Oh yeah, I mean, the ideal would be voting out both of them, but
Right.
that's
And
not
you
the
know what? I
choice.
think they'll get that chance.
Yeah, and look, man, like Zach was practically volunteering. You do not need to tell people that you screwed up the puzzle. They were there. Like his exits, it's like somehow it got out. It's like you were the one that pointed the finger at you. Honestly, I'm not sure anybody else was thinking about that. They were probably thinking about how they got beat down so hard in the physical portion, which
He wasn't even the only person on the puzzle.
Yeah. Which I guess like the one thing the puzzle could go is like, we already know that you're going to provide less than 0 in the physical portion. So if you're not also helping us on the puzzles, then it's time for you to go. And yeah, Romeo sat out, but we like him. Meanwhile, your own alliance mates don't like you. Like you guys are already turning on each other. And you know, their whole young person alliance, like most young people, sucked. So it was good to get rid of them. The young people tonight were annoying me, and you know, that almost certainly is because I am not one. But it's like, also, it's like, man, do some fucking work. And your palm prawn weaving is not work. I need people to know this. That is a waste of time.
Yeah, actually,
that is so you can sit around and gossip. It
provides
no value to the tribe.
Oh wait, wrong one. If Zach is such a wrong curly-haired white nerd, if Zach is such a super fan, he would have heard Tyson say that weaving the palm fronds doesn't do any good. Just lay a shit ton on top of each other.
Yeah, you're never gonna get them tight enough. It's a waste of time. But we can look busy and then we can sit around and chat about our obscure book series. So yeah, no, like he was a fine choice because like what a liability, poor guy. Like why does the show put both of them? You've got 2 skinny dudes.
Yeah,
you got 3 tribes. You could split them up.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't like Roxford doesn't seem like he's perfectly fine, but doesn't seem strong enough to be like that counterbalance.
Yeah,
the way that I
should be on Taku or whatever tribe you put Jonathan on.
Right.
One of them needs to be on that tribe.
Like it's sort of the opposite of like I believe they said in China the reason Jean Hu did so much better than Fei Long, or is it vice versa? Fei Long was better than Jean Hu, I think. Anyway, Todd's tribe, because they like I guess the producers thought like, okay, we'll make one side more like even and have like a lot of the medium people. This side they'll have James and Aaron, but they'll also have Todd and Courtney. But it's like once, you know, as often happens, once they've won like one, you start to be able to sit those people out. Mm-hmm. And then it's just not a factor anymore. So yeah, they really needed to have one with Jonathan, who is the only, like somehow the only like athletic male on the season. Yeah.
I have that later on, but we need to talk about it because this actually I think is a red flag that could prove a problem for the rest of the season. Everything else that I've talked about, just early season jitters, you know, basically me not loving it as much as other people. But the apparent, at least we don't know, we haven't seen enough, but the apparent lack of athleticism throughout almost the entire cast, I don't think is a good thing, you know. And I say this as somebody who, you know, isn't into this so much for the challenges, doesn't necessarily gravitate towards challenge beasts, but it is a significant portion of the runtime of the episodes, and I'm starting to worry. And these, you know, the second challenge especially was very hard. So
and also the second challenge was designed to be run by 6 people.
Yeah, and it ended up being 5. So yeah, it could get better. But just like looking at everybody and what we've seen so far, I worry that like watching these challenges is going to be like watching the PRP 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Just like a bunch of people athletically competing who can't compete, and it's like it can be funny sometimes when people fail, but when everybody is just like not like good at it, I don't know if I want to watch that competition, you know.
When do we get the Romeo cardboard cutout then?
It might weigh more, you know, and it's like, it's really unfortunately compared to like Jonathan looks like one of the biggest physical specimens they've ever had. So like the poor guy.
Is he tall or is everyone short?
It could be both, you know, because he's also like he looks like a Hemsworth, like physically. I don't know, maybe up here, but it is just like, I feel sorry for the guy. There's no shield. And look, maybe if that guy specifically, there's no shield in existence that could shield him. But it's just like he and like, who else? Drea?
Yeah, Drea seems pretty strong. Lindsay ran really fast.
Yeah, I mean, she fell a couple times, but no, she was in the second run, right?
Yeah, she was second. Tori's the one who actually, it tells you about, was keeping up with Jonathan pretty well, which I think is impressive because he's a giant.
Yeah, like Mike is fit, but he's also 57. You know, like I just worry that we're going to get a bunch of competitions with a bunch of fishbacks against fishbacks. And it's like that.
You know, if they brought back the Andrew Savage Memorial Challenge, Mike would fucking beast it though.
Oh, almost certainly. You know, like, and again, there could be some hidden athleticism. The show has often had like, you know, unusual challenge beasts, but it's like, I feel like you guys steered a bit too hard into like the various diversities, which are other good, but it's like, give me some athletes if you're going to also have athletic competition, which you're going to, you know, like, I don't know. I probably shouldn't say it. I don't care if people tell me in comments, but I almost wonder if this is what like those fan-based like college ones are. It's just like, we'll have our little competitions, but they're not going to be that physical because we're dorks. You know, this is like, I know you're going to have physical challenges. You just did. This one was tough. And like just the rowing, and it's like, I don't want to just see everyone fail at it. Like the failure is only funny if somebody else is succeeding. And we'll see. Again, people could be, you know, really good at things, and certainly people will get better and all that. But it's like, I don't know how many athletes are in this cast, yet I still know that they're going to have like 1 to 2 competitions every episode. What do you think? I don't know.
I feel like I said my piece.
Right. So who made an impression on you this episode?
I mean, obviously Hai for pouring a bowl of blood onto his torso. Jenny, I thought she didn't get a lot, but I thought she was fun with the triangles and just been like, oh no.
Yeah, that was a great early moment when people are like, all right, I got it. And like, there's no way you have it.
And then the cut to Taku, is it the yellow tribe, and Jonathan be like, I have 11. And Omar be like, I'm up to 36. Jonathan's like, oh fuck. It's like, okay, I'm gonna find Bamboo then. I should not be a part of this.
Yeah. And I love that part because like last year when they introduced us and everybody's like, oh, you have to do that, it's easy. And everybody was confidently dropping their very wrong answers in the comments. Like, so I'm glad they showed that. Yeah, I know. And I also really like Jenny in that moment too.
Yes, so I like her. I think she could be fun. Plus they're on this. Do I have the tribe straight? Yeah, they're on the same tribe. So like, you know, that's 2 people who I think are interesting. So I guess I'm ready.
Jenny is not on the same one as Jonathan, if that's what you're saying.
Hi, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't care about Jonathan. I just thought that part was funny.
Yeah.
He is very tall though. Good for him. Or is he? I don't know. Maybe everyone's short. I think Romeo could be interesting in that he was the only one who's like, maybe we don't blow up our alliance. And then I also think Drea could be interesting, but for the opposite reason. Like, I don't think she's necessarily going to be good, but I think she's going to go ham, and you love to see it.
So for her at the Shipwheel Island, like the big thing that stuck out for me is when she's making the risk reward choice. And I have no problem with anybody who chooses risk, especially early on. You're not really risking much. Like, for instance, if she had lost her vote, it was meaningless. It was a unanimous vote.
Yeah.
But she was like, I don't know anything about these people. so I'm gonna risk it. It's like, that's not how that sentence ends. If you're going with that, I don't know any of these people, the logical thing to jump to is, so I better not take a risk. I have nothing to base this decision on. I don't know which way to go. But she's like, I don't know any of them, so I gotta risk it. It's like,
I enjoyed, even though Drea is considered one of the older people on her tribe, she's still older than me, so I'll cling to it. That it kind of mirrored the season 41, where the oldest person of the trio is because I'm pretty sure Jenny is older than 34. The oldest of the trio is the one who chose to protect her vote, which is like Danny doing that. Although the guys, I think, had gotten to talk about it a little bit more.
I don't remember if it's because they had a greater indication that they were doing it, or if they're just a better anticipation.
Yeah, we really didn't see
we
that.
Didn't see them talk at all. We had a Marianne segment instead.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's those are the people I've liked. I think also, not really about the people, but I think there were some interesting sartorial choices for the opening. Omar, you don't tuck in a Hawaiian shirt, buddy. Don't. You let it hang. This is supposed to be like, we're relaxing, we're casual. Don't tuck it in, pal. However, that emu shirt is incredible. I hate it because I'm scared of birds, but as like a concept, incredible. And then I believe Mariah, I believe is how you say her name, even though that spelling is not something I've seen in my lifetime. But I knew a girl whose name is Maria, which isn't a name other people have. So that throws me off, I think. But she had like a leopard print beret, and I'm like, so jaunty for the island, you know? And then there were just, Lydia's pants were so shiny.
Yes.
And then like so shiny, what a choice. And then she had those like neon yellow shorts.
I need to know the material because of the shininess. It's like, do those breathe?
But was it taffeta? It was so strange. Would be a horrible choice. And Tori's pants were kind of a lot. I liked how she had them like pulled up for the run. I was like, girl, those aren't gonna stay. And they immediately fell off. I was like, you should have just taken them. If your underwear had like any coverage at all, you should have just taken those off and man. But I feel like there was another outfit I thought was weird, but really it was just tucking in the Hawaiian shirt, just physical pain at that one. That was unfortunate. And then he breaks out the emu shirt after that. Hilarious.
For me, the biggest impression, as we got into earlier, was Marianne. And I want to talk a bit about like her personal content, because on the one hand, like, yeah, she talks about like, you know, how she's weird and she likes herself. It's like, yes, good, you should. On the other hand, when she was saying it, I even had to pause and talk to my wife. It's like, I feel like she doesn't understand the show. Because this is how she's like, I'm going to go on Survivor to prove like that, you know, it's fine to be weird and all that. And like, okay, you're going to go on TV to prove that. But Survivor itself is a game in which people reject you. You know, people gang up to vote people out based on whether or not they like them or not, whether or not they get, it's like, so if this is your way of getting validation, this is the worst way to get validation. This is a show in which people will go on and then have to like deal with months and years, maybe therapy, of having to like overcome the painful rejection that they've taken from the game. This is a game in which people will decide whether you get to win or not based on whether or not they like you. So it's just like, you know, again, she does seem perfectly delightful. And again, I think, you know, the on TV stuff, much like Daniel wanting to prove, you know, like to cancer patients that, you know, there's a way out. But it's just like, you know, that I can be weird. It's like, I feel like most weirdos on Survivor get ostracized and voted out. Like I don't know if this is the show for that. This is a mean show where people, decide that like I'll vote for this person because everybody else is. This is a show where people first run up to an object and two people will be like, oh, I want to go for it, and the third person is, I guess I are too, and then suddenly you're smearing blood on yourself. This is not a show that encourages like free spirits. This is a show, frankly, that you sometimes have to hide who you are and your true intentions. I don't think she'll be capable of that at all. It's hard to imagine a Marianne poker face, for instance, which could be delightful. I'm not going to say otherwise, but it's like I don't know that Survivor's going to give you that experience. But the good news is she's probably somebody who will come out of this on the other side feeling, that she still loves herself anyway. But it's just like when she said that, it was just like, no.
Also, it's like, it's interesting coming from her because like Marianne like is self-proclaimed weird, but she's also charismatic. And like those aren't the weird people who like have a hard time in life. Those are the weird people who are like, oh, you're so quirky and interesting. Which is not to say, that's necessarily how her daily life goes. Obviously I don't know her life or who she's around. But speaking of young people and questionable choices, which was really the theme of my movie viewing experience last weekend when I watched Licorice Pizza and West Side Story in a row. Bad choices. Maria, he just killed your brother. But, this isn't really related to Survivor, but just Swathi, you're already at an Ivy League school. People join the military to get the college education in America. And also I like it. She's like, education is my number one priority. So it's like, so you joined the National Guard while you're still in college? Why? Why?
Clearly, commies like us don't understand.
Yeah. No, I mean, my mom literally talked my step cousin out of joining the Air Force once, and now he's an accountant. But really, it was just the priority thing, because I thought it was like, if education is your priority, then you would just be doing that and not joining.
If that's your ticket to education, that you're
sure, but it does not sound like that was the case
or something. But yeah, that's not the case.
That's not the case. And then to also go on Survivor, where she probably had to defer a semester, which again is totally fine. Not everyone is doing this, but to claim that it's your like number one priority, but then here are all the other things that I'm putting before it. I thought was interesting. I also thought she really she lied. I believe she said she was 20 and I'm pretty sure she's 19, which is such a minor lie, but also like a smart one, because just not being a teenager is good, but you're still under the drinking age, so you're not like doing too much.
The 5'11" guy saying he's 6 feet. It's right there.
Yeah, it's fine. But it was so funny to me. There was just something about her just is a teenager. Like the way she like is sitting and like has the hoodie like at tribal council. I was just like, I'm old now. That's a teen. I can tell now that that's a teenager. I'm an old.
Yeah, one of the most gratifying things of doing this as long as we've done it is the people who have gotten old, who were young when we started, and like would push back on the things we would say about young people. And now as time has passed, they're like, yeah, okay, I see it now. And look, man, you're not supposed to see it when you're young. You should not understand. If you are a young person and be like, oh, young people, then you suck as a young person. You're an awful young person. But, us older people have once been young people. So,
which I do have to say, sort of in defense of young people, but not really. I guess it's more in defense of Gen Z, when Roxroy is like, these generations have changed. I'm like, nah, man, you're just in your 40s. Yeah. They're young.
Bullshit with millennials versus Gen X, which it was great if you watch Africa when it's the exact opposite. Yes. It's not about the generation; it's about your age and place in life.
Yes.
This is generational things are like what pop culture you're onto, or like your attachment to certain technologies. It's not they don't take responsibility or like choring as much as me do. That's children. You're talking about young people versus older people.
Yeah, it's like, Roxroy, you are the age of the people in Africa, season 3, who were told all these slacker Gen Xers.
Yeah.
But now you're old. Someday they will be old. That's
Yes.
all. That's all.
Millennials are owning houses and stuff now.
Well, no, but that's not a generational problem. That's another thing where generations come into play. How the world has
There we go.
changed.
I more meant that they're old enough to at this point, but they probably
In
aren't.
theory.
Many of them are, except for I don't know, the ones that have all of their apes still intact.
The ones whose parents can give them a down payment.
The other person that made an impression this episode was Tori, but for all the wrong reasons. She can get off my screen. Like, even before I'd read any of the posts, her life outside of Survivor, which I get.
Yeah, I didn't see that till after either. And
I was just like, no, I don't really like it. But I did like that she certainly had a higher opinion of herself than I think the show did, or that, like, when she would describe, oh, well, I'm going to tell people I'm doing this, but I'm looking for an idol. It's like, they know, man, they know, and they show us that they know.
Is it a crime to come back without tarot? It's like,
but you were looking for tarot. You already just told us that.
You gotta bring back something,
about
girl.
the thing that she just admitted that she was doing was special, and like, I don't know why you're still lying to us, because then, like, she did seem to be very, like, actually upset about being caught in what she was doing.
Also, I know intellectually they have to start somewhere, but the fact that the idea of a 24-year-old therapist, horrifying.
Yeah, I guess, like, for younger people maybe, but I certainly would not spill to.
No.
I don't know what advice you could give me.
I have a couple 24-year-old coworkers, and they're cool. I enjoy talking to them. I'm not trying to get, life advice from, like, not trying to deal with the shit talking to them. That's for sure.
But I suppose there's all different kinds of therapists, and as you say,
right.
They can't just, like, wait until they're 30 in order
to... Right, that's why it's like, I know intellectually, like, you don't just, like, pop out of school at 40, but it just feels wrong.
So in past seasons, I think I've pushed back, and in my very Andy way of being like, why are people calling this person a villain? Like, I don't see it. And it's almost always like pregame stuff, and people say that it's not. It's like, no, this half minute. No, it's that. You have my permission, everyone. If you guys want to call Tori a villain, I feel like there was enough in the edit. And
Andy said drag her
role, because I think I will certainly be, happy when she's voted out. So that, in that sense, she made an impression in that she's somebody that I remember. Obviously, being a boot target helps in that, but I love that I watch a show and I podcast about a show that makes me, the Canadian, say boot frequently. That's just a fun little thing.
Oh, boot is how it already sounds for you.
Anything else you got? I think we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, baseball's back, baby.
We'll just do a good half hour on that. I'm sure everybody will be. I'd say I don't have as much to say.
You said anything else. That's the something else.
That's it. Yeah, that's good. And again, like, if I sound like I'm down, it's more just that, like, that's honestly a podcaster problem. If I was just watching the show, I'd be like, hey, cool, I'll watch next week. There's a foundation has been laid. It's just I don't have strong opinions despite the running time.
We're just chatty.
If people have them, welcome to share them with us. You can do that on our website. That's purplerockpodcast.com, where we have other content. The big thing right now is our fantasy game is underway. We have the pick 4 contest. You pick 4 contestants. As long as it's a team of 4 that nobody else has the same combination of, that's what you get. And then you get points. And then you spend the season arguing that, like, my person found an envelope, they should get points for that. And we'll be like, it's not anything yet. Once that envelope turns into something, if it turns into something, then maybe points.
And you can still pick until the second episode airs.
That's right. So if you had Zach or Jack.
But it's going to be hard to find a combination of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I don't play. I don't quite know how.
I stayed out this year. I flamed up so hard last year that I was like, I'm just going to take a break.
But yeah, if you can find a combo, you can make that switch. And Australian Survivor apparently is still going on. I don't know if it's almost done or still has 100 more episodes to go this season. But
no way to
there's
know.
coverage of that on our website, thanks to the 4, 5, 6 people that do international coverage. Yeah, I thank them for it. I should probably pay more attention. I'm sure they're doing an amazing job. I posted a random podcast this weekend on Palau. Things I thought about and talked about like 6 months ago, plus whatever I could figure out this week.
You should at least listen to the first 5 or so minutes where he praises me.
Yeah. I got it in. I want to have to do it for the rest of the season. But yeah, you can follow us on Twitter. The show is at Purple Rock Pod. It's not really tweeting anything right now, but in a week now it probably will. You can follow me, Purple Rock Andy. You are
Purple Rock Emma.
Subscribe to various places, including YouTube. Anything else?
I guess you can rate the podcast if you want, but we don't really care. So, whatever.
Give us 5 stars. Anything other than that, we don't care. And we also don't care if you give us 5 stars.
If you're going to do something, make it funny. And don't just insult my voice, because that's not nice.
It's not.
The only girl, very sus, that's all.
On International Women's Month and the week of International Women's Day. Come on. Leave a comment just for that. I'm going to hit some theme music.
Okay.